Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. The debate about women's boxing, 12 3-minute rounds, 10 3-minute rounds, 12 2-minute rounds. What's the best for women's boxing? Well, a bit of history was made because Amanda Serrano actually whitewashed DANILA RAMOS. She won 121.08 on all three cards. I had it the same score, although the first round you could make a case for DANILA RAMOS winning that. But there's no doubt that Amanda was by far the better fighter, and it was over 12 threes, the first ever women's contest to be over that distance. 36 minutes of fighting as opposed to 20 minutes of fighting. So it was almost twice as long a world title fight as is normally the case. And when I say that Amanda whitewashed DANILA RAMOS, that doesn't in any way tell the story of this fight, because it was an exciting, I'm tempted to say action-packed, maybe not every round, but it was one of those fights where one combatant was clearly winning every round, but the other one was making it interesting through sheer grit, sheer resiliency. DANILA RAMOS is 38 years old. She lives in Argentina, but she's originally from Brazil. This is one tough lady, because she made Serrano work for every round that was won. And the 121.08, even though it's perfectly understandable why someone would score the fight by that margin, a whitewash, it doesn't really tell the whole story. I mean, we know about Amanda Serrano, right? I mean, she came in with 45 wins, 30 KOs, 2 defeats. You remember her fighting Katie Taylor, that brilliant fight, 1 draw. Okay, now she is and remains the undisputed featherweight champion of the world. She's got all the belts, including the Ring magazine. You name the belt, she's got it. And now DANILA RAMOS came in as the WBO interim featherweight champ. I don't know why she was the interim champ, because if someone holds a belt, the full fat version of the belt, should we say, what do you need an interim champ for? I thought interim belts were supposed to be for when a champ was, in recess, like they were injured or whatever, or they had something going on where they had to take a sidestep. But anyway, the belt existed. DANILA had it, and the fight, even though like I say, the first round was quite competitive, you could give it to Ramos. But after that, once Serrano found the range, and she found that sort of rhythm, that fluidity, she was putting the pressure on Ramos, and all Ramos could really do was to skip around the ring it's almost like she had Serrano on a rope, and she was following her, pulling her around, and the pressure, the mental pressure as well as the physical pressure, was tremendous from Serrano. But DANILA RAMOS, even though her left eye began to swell in the third round, I got the feeling, my prediction for this fight, I didn't do a preview video, but I thought, I remember thinking this fight is probably going to go with Serrano putting the pressure on. Ramos is going to move a lot early on, and then Serrano will catch up with her and stop her between the 8th and the 10th round. That was my prediction. Well, I thought early on that it's going to go that way. I wish I'd had some money on this. It was just as well I didn't, because I reckoned without Ramos's incredible fortitude and resiliency and incredible gas tank, both these women showed brilliant stamina, and she went the distance. But gradually, Serrano was getting, well, not so much gradually, but actually from probably the third round onwards, she got in close, and all Ramos could do was skirt around the ring, sort of jitterbug, move sideways, lots of movement, try and offset Serrano. But Serrano's so well schooled, so beautifully balanced, southpaw, Ramos is orthodox. Serrano, 30, what's she, 34, 35 now? 35, I think. She in no shape or form looks like she's nearing the end. She's probably never looked better. And Ramos at 38, I don't see why. Let's say that Serrano moves up a division. I mean, she's been a 7-division belt holder, But I'm sure Ramos has got a future if she wants to carry on. I don't know whether she does at her age, but she probably does. She can win belts. She can have good competitive fights with other top girls. But it was only probably, I think, one of the early, the third round, at the end of the third round, it really looked like Serrano was beginning to catch up and hurt Ramos. But she kind of stayed out of trouble. And there were a couple of rounds, I can't remember, I think it was maybe the 10th, 9th, 10th, 11th, where Serrano did catch up with Danila and was putting it on her, and you thought stoppage might happen. But again, Ramos gathered herself between rounds. And just managed to come back. And she was firing her own punches. She was landing her own punches. It wasn't as if she was just running away. She was, desperately trying. She was bouncing up and down, which I hate. So she was never getting any power into her punches because she was always, bouncing, and she wasn't setting herself. But she couldn't because Serrano was just on her all the time, like sauce over spaghetti. Ramos was able to, flick a lot of. She's an orthodox fighter, flick a lot of jabs, bang bang. Try and give Amanda something to think about. But Amanda didn't seem that bothered. But Danila was firing punches. It wasn't like boring to watch. It wasn't just someone running away and someone's chasing after them. No. There was some interaction there, definitely. It's just that Serrano seemed to be better in every department, and it was just pure grit and willpower that enabled Danila Ramos to go the distance. But make no mistake about it. I mean, this is a very good. If you like, some people have said this was an experimental fight, 12 3-minute rounds. Well, if you want to look at it that way, you have to say that it's pushed the idea of 12 threes further up the ladder, because this was a very good advert for it. It's not like we were all yawning and falling asleep. No, there was some excitement there. And there is a counter argument to the 12 threes, which it doesn't necessarily have to do with women not being able to do the 12 threes. It's whether the talent pool is deep enough. I don't know. I initially was thinking, from the word go, I thought, okay, if the women want to fight 12 threes, they should, because it's that's just the libertarian in me, or whatever you want to call it. But there are counter arguments to this, and I'm actually going to do a video probably either tomorrow or the day after about this subject. I've already done one, but I did it about a week or two ago. But this is a really interesting. I love the women's game because we are seeing it evolve into something. We're kind of at the start of this new incarnation of women's boxing, and I find it fascinating. Some people don't like women's boxing at all. Some people think women shouldn't fight, and okay, and they're not all dinosaurs. Some of them are. Some of them talk a lot of just chauvinistic crap, but not all of them are. I mean, I've heard some women say they prefer the 10-2s, but the question of choice is obviously a big argument to be put forth. But I think also the fact that if the top women do fight each other over 12 threes, I don't really have a problem with that. I think the argument that the gene pool isn't big enough, so you will get mismatches over 12 threes, that holds some water. And I think it's very, very noticeable in this fight that whenever Amanda Serrano had Danila Ramos in trouble, it was usually within that third minute of the round. Very often she had her in serious-ish trouble, in the last 20 or 30 seconds. So I definitely think there'd be more knockouts. But the question is, we see mismatches in the men's game all the time. But does the talent pool warrant 12 threes consistently? Or are we going to get? Because an awful lot of these world title fights in the women's game, some of them are complete mismatches. I mean, I'm thinking back, the obvious one in the last year to me is Natasha Jonas against Candy Wyatt, a complete mismatch, and she stopped Wyatt, I think, in the eighth round. That was just a 10-2s fight. So if you get 3 minutes per round, it will increase the amount of knockouts, and there is the safety element that has to be discussed. But this was a very good sort of advocate for the 12 threes. It was an entertaining fight, a great fighter in Serrano, an extremely game one in Ramos, and there again, we have the issue of choice. Do women want to fight 12 threes or not? But it's evolving. I find it very, very interesting to cover and to study. But go and have a look at this fight. It was on DAZN. The card itself was very, very good. There was lots of young prospects, and you had a couple of fights where both guys were undefeated and they fought each other. And there's one 6-rounder that was an absolute barn burner. I'll probably do a video on it, so look out for that. But the card itself was good. It's on DAZN. I think it was from Orlando, Florida. And yeah, a very, very interesting fight and a very, very good card. Go and have a look at it. If you've got any comments, by all means leave them below and I will answer them. And thank you as always for your time. Hit the subscribe button if you don't mind. Hit the like button because they count them apparently, so I'm told. And build up Joe Stunner Boxing. Let's get this channel built up. Spread the word about it. Thank you as always for your time. Speak to you soon and look after yourselves. Bye for now.